but obviously we have long discussions with the director about how they see the role and what they want. So if they're not there, we can guide the actor in that direction to show the director that they can make that journey, or they're good at taking direction. But I think being in the room with actors is just so fun, because it's playful, and that's one of the tips I give to actors. I'm like, obviously everyone has nerves and they can be a good thing, but just remember when you come into a room to be playful and be open, and you're there because we want you there. You don't have to prove anything to us. We already like you and think you're great. We just want to see how we can play with this scene and this character and what you can bring.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the show. Today I'm joined by freelance casting assistant Carrie Bedingfield, who you'll currently find working with Rachel Freck, and whose recent credits include the Sky Atlantic TV series Tin Star. So let's get right into it. Carrie, thank you for joining me. Thank you for dealing with that little botch at the top there, which I'm going to edit out, but I'm going to call it out. How are you? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I think as we were saying, sort of days are blending into one, but
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think somewhere in the world, Craig David's going, my song has no meaning anymore. It's like, we're chilling every day now, Craig. It's like,
yeah, every day's a chill day.
every day. Well, not for you, to be fair. You've been pretty active. I've seen you obviously doing a lot of the We Audition one-to-ones and, giving back, which I think is awesome. Like, how have you been finding that process, and what's that been like?
It's been amazing, actually, being able to meet so many new people that I wasn't aware of before, as well as new graduates who perhaps I haven't seen their graduate shows. I'd seen quite a few before Christmas, but I hadn't seen many showcases, and obviously a lot got cancelled. So it's really nice to actually meet those actors who kind of their final shows were taken away from them, but now they've got the opportunity to actually meet lots of people. So I hope that that's been really good for them.
Yeah, what's the vibe from those guys? Because I can't even imagine what it must be like to have worked for so many years and then just feel like you've lost everything in some ways. It's the same as film school students that I know that they're in their final year and they can't make their films. And
Yeah.
like, how has that been coming across? Have they been sort of okay considering, or has it been a varied mixed bag?
I think at the beginning people were more nervous and worried, and then as time's gone on and things have been put in place and there's been more people doing the We Auditions and the Spotlight one-to-ones, and then I know a lot of casting directors as well have perhaps reached out to particular people, particular schools, or maybe more, like quite a few schools, just to get to know the graduates and meet them. I think a few are doing some online showcases as well, which is really good. So I think as we've gone on and they've had the chance to put things in place to actually help them and get them seen and get them out there, people have felt more secure in terms of the fact that they're getting to show their work, not perhaps in the way they really wanted to in a showcase, but made, through self-tapes or through monologues. So yeah, I feel like people are becoming less worried, but there is still that air of worry there. And I think some drama schools are even potentially offering, for when this is all over, for these third years to do their shows then.
Yeah, it's interesting. A friend of mine works at, he's a lecturer at one of the film schools, and he was saying that they don't know what's going to happen with even now, what they're going to do with grading and marking people's projects. And we were just talking about, maybe when they come back and this is all sort of lifted, they'll let, third years and second years come back and use the equipment to film their projects, much like letting some of the drama school students do their showcases. Because that's a big thing. Like, it's a big part of why you do it. You want to go up there and also get industry in to see you. But I guess in some ways, like you said, now people are able to connect with casting and industry people. I don't want to say more easily than before, but it feels like there's a lot more time, obviously. So there's a lot more of that going on, which is silver lining, if there can be one, in this whole thing.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
So let's maybe take a few steps back. So before we kind of go any deeper with casting and tips and all the rest of it, what's your story? Like, what's your backstory as Carrie? How did you get into the world, and how did you get to where you are now? we can.
So I did a lot of performing from a young age, and I went to drama school, and I was working for a few years, and then I set up a production company with a few friends, and we wrote and produced a TV pilot, which was an amazing experience. And through that experience, I actually kind of fell in love with the other side of it all, and I found, especially with casting, so I find it's a really creative process. It's almost like putting together a jigsaw puzzle of different pieces, like to get the perfect, or like making a cake, to get the perfect end product.
Sure.
So from that experience, I thought, you know what, I think I want to go into production or casting. I did some work with Emily Tillelly, a friend of mine put me in touch with her, and I was like, yeah, I think I really want to do this. So I kind of it was a really organic process for me. I still love acting. I love actors. I love being creative. But I made that decision that actually I would much rather be on the casting side. It was just more secure for me, which is what I think I wanted to stay in the industry, but have a more secure job.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
the whole acting thing ain't exactly the most secure gig in the world, right?
No, and you know what? It's so tough for actors because every day, not every day, but every week they're kind of interviewing for a new job. Whereas in the outside world, you kind of interview for a job and then you do it for, I don't know, a few years or longer. It's not like, oh, okay, you're interviewing for this job and it's going to be a few weeks long and then you have to go and do another one.
Is that kind of why when you were in that phase, you decided to branch off and make your own stuff and get into producing? Because
because I find it hard to sit and wait for things to happen. So I'm very much the sort of person who needs to go out there and either make things happen or do something else or find another avenue to release that creativity. And casting for me was the perfect way. And I've had the chance to work with some really amazing people on a really big variety of different things. So I've done, with Emily, I did mainly commercials and some short films. And then I went to work with Aisha Bywaters, and that was mainly independent film and some BBC Channel 4 TV stuff. And then I went to work with Dixie Chassé on more independent film, which I love because independent film is a really great way to kind of meet newer actors and get that new talent in and noticed.
And is the process, how does the process differ, if at all, with, say, a TV show or something that's a little bit more, I don't want to say structured is the right word, but obviously it's got maybe more parameters and more people and cogs in the machine. Is there a difference aside from maybe time frame on an indie film, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, TV tends to have I think kind of like a 1 or 2 month build up until, or maybe 6 weeks until the first episode. So you'll start prep and casting, and you'll start with, well, in anything you do this in an indie film too, but you start with the leads, the main characters. And with TV, obviously there's new characters in each episode. So with TV, it's almost, I guess it depends on the kind of show, but it can be a longer process because you're still casting when it's in production. So they might be filming episode 1 and then you're casting episode 2. And then when they're filming episode 2, you're casting episode 3. And it goes on and on like that. Whether it's new guest stars who are like a guest lead in the whole episode, or whether it's just one-liners, one scene, that kind of thing. Whereas with film, generally speaking, you'd have it all cast before they start shooting. Yeah. So it's kind of a more succinct process it's you start with the lead. Yeah. Each one has its own sequence. With film, I guess it depends. You get a certain time frame before you start filming. I'm trying to think of a film that I guess maybe with film you can start even sooner, maybe like 2 to 3 months before it shoots, just to give yourself more time.
I guess it also depends on like the financing and budget too, right? Like if they're trying to attach someone to get financing, then maybe you're starting a lot sooner, but then you're taking a huge hiatus until they actually can come back and say, cool, we got the money now, we can cast like 90% of the rest of the cast, which I guess in indie film is really prevalent, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes, and that can also happen on TV. You know, to attach the big lead, you want to get that person attached, because then the production company will be like, oh great, yes, we want to finance that, we'll give that money, because that'll be brilliant, and that will bring in the audience.
And I guess that makes your job, I don't want to say easier, but once you have that attached, you can then start looking at maybe other actors that maybe aren't quite as named yet, and it gives you a little bit more freedom to kind of turn off that pressure cooker side, worry less about the finance elements.
Yeah, and even attracting in, you know, people may want to work with that big actor, so it's a good way to get other people really interested. Even again, big names of kind of the same level, they might be like, oh, I've not worked with them before, I'd quite like to work with them. So it can be a good way to attract people, actors.
And for you, like, do you have like a favorite part of the process? Does it depend on the day of the week, or like?
That's really tough.
Because I'm thinking, like, as a performer and an actress originally, does being in the room like still have a special thing for you, or is it just like?
I was gonna say, I think meeting people is probably my favorite part, because then you get really like, you get to redirect them, you get to work with them, you get to see what they can bring to the character. There's only so much you can get from a self-tape, because you're really just seeing the actor's interpretation of the role. So to actually get in a room with them and work on it, and get to a place, like, even if like the director's sometimes with you, sometimes it's just you in the room with the actor, but obviously we have long discussions with the director about how they see the role and what they want. So if they're not there, we can guide the actor in that direction to show the director that they can make that journey, or they're good at taking direction. But I think being in the room with actors is just so fun, because it's playful, and that's one of the tips I give to actors. I'm like, obviously everyone has nerves and they can be a good thing, but just remember when you come into a room to be playful and be open, and you're there because we want you there. You don't have to prove anything to us. We already like you and think you're great. We just want to see how we can play with this scene and this character and what you can bring.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because that's been a through line from the different people that I've had on. I had Faye Timby on the other day, Amy Ray Jackson. Yeah, and they've all said the same thing, which I'm not surprised by. I think my thing with that is always, it's an unquantifiable thing. It's easy to say, but then obviously from an actor's perspective, you then go, I keep hearing this. How do I do it? And I don't think there isn't like a do A and B and then you get C. It's more, my view over time has been, it's more of a mindset game than anything, just as anything in life, right? So I don't know the answer, but I guess experience, getting in the room, auditioning as often as you can, and just getting that knowledge of, you know, what happens when you do tank an audition, what happens when you have a good one and don't book the job, and how can you as an individual frame that for yourself where you don't go nuts, because that's the game more than booking the job in some ways, I think.
Yeah, and if a casting director likes you, they'll keep bringing you back. It doesn't matter if you don't get one job. If they like you, or think, you know, they see some talent, they'll keep bringing you back for loads of stuff.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, you're in there to just play, make a connection, and not book a job. I think if you think of it as I'm going to book a job, you're screwing yourself over right from the outset.
And there's so many factors involved. There's so many different people's opinions. There's so many different factors that come into the decision that's made. It's impossible to try and find a way to beat the system and book every single job. But I don't think there is a technique to that. I think the best way to be is just be as prepared as you can. Don't be worried. If you mess up a line, it doesn't matter, because we don't have to show that take. We can just delete it.
Well, that's a big, don't I know it? I'm going to cut that out from the start of this where I messed up a line. But to be fair though, because that is a thing that a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, have this thing of, I can't mess up a line. Like, I have to be word perfect. And, you know, you'd rather, I assume, have someone just stick with it, not, stop if they mess up or cut the take short, just keep going. And maybe there is still something usable in there that you can still show, as long as you're getting the vibe and the essence of the character from the person more than.
Yeah, and I think not getting too in your head. Like if you say one word wrong but you're still in character, don't second guess yourself and come out of character to be like, oh no, I've got it wrong. Just if it's made sense, just keep going. Because I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but most people don't mind if you get the words slightly wrong. Do you know, like some people are real sticklers, and I guess there's some really stylistic pieces of text where if you get it wrong, it's really, really obvious and it's jarring. But the majority of stuff nowadays is so naturalistic that if you say something slightly different, that's just because that's the way you would say it. So it's just your brain changing something slightly, but it still makes the same sense.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's a comedy or something where the wording is the actual punchline or a setup, right? But no, I think that is quite an important one, because I think, I've been there at the beginning as well, where you think that you've got to have everything, lines have to be word perfect, forget emotion. Like if I can redact the words, even if the emotion's not there, then we're good, as opposed to actually it's maybe the opposite, right? For you, has anything changed by being in the room and now doing, obviously, the casting job? Has it informed the actress side of you, even though she's maybe on hiatus or defunct? Has it maybe made you look at it and go, oh, if I knew that when I was sort of an actress and doing things, I would have seen things differently?
Yeah, I think the main thing I wish I'd known is literally to just enjoy it and be more relaxed and don't worry so much. Which is, again, like you said, it's an impossible thing, because it's a psychological thing that you can't necessarily control. But yeah, I think just being more relaxed and playful, and not worrying about what people think of you, because that's one thing I just always, and I know I said it earlier, I keep telling actors, is that you're there, but we already like you. If you've made it into the room with us, we already think you're great. We already really like you. We want you to get the job. So we're on your side completely. And I think knowing that can maybe help people relax more, because you just wouldn't be there if we didn't think you were good.
I also think there's a thing of, and this current period is probably helping, because the fact that people can connect with you and other casting professionals, that we know inherently you're humans, but we don't know you. So it's that thing of like when you first meet someone for the first time, you don't have much chance to connect with them or get to know them on a personal level. You're busy doing your job. So it's like we're going in, doing a read, and kind of leaving. And I think knowing and being reassured of the fact that you guys are humans, you're people too, like you make mistakes, you do good things, you do bad things. It's obvious, but I think it almost on a subconscious level maybe puts us at ease a bit more and goes, oh, it's not that it's just Carrie, but it's like Carrie's a person too. Carrie's got her problems.
Yeah. And that's also great, what doing the one-to-ones and everything. I think, then you've met the actor, the actor's met you. So you'd hope that next, if you bring them in for a meeting or an audition, they feel like they've got that connection because you've had a chat before. So that would hopefully break down that first instance of like, I've never met you before. This is
well, and weird. The thing of like, the perception that casting are like the gatekeepers. I say this on every single show. It's like the whole thing of you're the gatekeeper to Narnia. And like you somehow are protecting this magical kingdom that we want to get into, but you're not. Like why wouldn't you let me? What have I got to do? And I think just demystifying that, and maybe we can talk about that a bit, because obviously you are effectively in some ways like the middle ground between the actors and the artists, and obviously then the shows or the films that are being produced. And you also have people that you have to, go and report to and feedback to, and they have ultimate say, right? So it's not that you guys have the golden ticket to hand out, or is it?
No.
Yeah.
we do, I know there's been certain instances where we really will fight for an actor if you know, production's going one way and we're like, no, this, please cast this person, they are just so much better or more suited to the role, or that this would be, you know, this is their role. I've definitely known instances where we've fought for actors to get roles and won. Which is great, but it is always a discussion between lots of different people, and we give our professional advice, but then obviously directors and producers are also very experienced and have been, you know, they've done, you know, they've worked on lots of films or lots of TV, met lots of actors, seen how things work, know what works for them and what they like, and that's when it becomes a discussion of taste and tone and what the piece needs. Some actors are brilliant at comedy and some are more brilliant at very dramatic, intense pieces, and some can do both brilliantly, but sometimes different people's personalities just gravitate towards different genres, which is great. And but it's nice. I always love it when we can really fight for an actor and be like, no, but they're amazing, they should be that role, and then they get the role, because that makes you feel like, yes, I've really done my job and I've really fought for what I believe and what I know and what I feel is right.
And that they've listened to you and obviously appreciate and respect your experience and insight too, right? So it's a two-way thing.
And I've worked with some brilliant directors who when we've been in the casting room, they haven't just been like, I like this person and this person, that. It's a discussion, and they want to know what we think. They might not necessarily go that way in the end, but they want to know our opinions and what we think. And also, like, we know sometimes we know more. We might know the person more, so we can be like, they're also actually a really nice person to have on set, and like they're a really hard worker.
And that's an interesting point, because I wanted to kind of maybe touch on that on this chat with you. In your experience, obviously, you need someone who can do the job, and you need someone that's got the skill. However, like with anything, there's also the person, as a human. Like, how are they going to fit with the entire cast and crew? As part of, you know, a film or a show is just a big circus, really, and you've got to have people that mesh, because it's going to be stressful at some point. So how much of that weighs into these conversations? You know, someone could do an amazing read, but maybe if they're not the right fit personality wise, does that actually, you know, weigh into it? And the same vice versa.
Sometimes it can. If you know that about a person, you can always, you know, give that advice. But sometimes people don't really mind or care, and they're just like, well, this person is perfect for the job and they're going to make this film electric, so I can deal with that personality type. I want them in my film. And sometimes it can be a case as well that, you know, two particular actors maybe don't get on with each other, or have worked together before, and had the same sort of relationship before in a show, not on the outside, but in terms of like the characters had both like perhaps played romantic leads with each other before, and you're like, well, we've kind of already seen that. I don't know if it will be so interesting to see that again, because it's been happened before. But yeah, I know it's definitely a case. Some actors, like all people in the world, sometimes you don't get on with someone. So if someone's like, oh, I really want this person and this person, then you can say, yeah, but I don't think they'd want to work together.
Like flip a coin and see which one.
Yeah.
See which one you land with.
More.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, it definitely does. It does play into it sometimes if you know about a particular person's personality. You can, I mean, whether they take your advice or not, but you can advise them, just so that it's just doing due diligence, I guess. At the end of the day, you're just letting someone know. Just don't want you to be shocked when you get on set and this happens. Yeah.
When they come on and their rider has 1,000 items and they demand blue M&Ms only, and you know, all that.
Yeah. But if they have to deal with it, that's great.
Yeah, fair play. You mentioned something there that kind of tweaked a question for me when you spoke about, oh, maybe you've had 2 romantic leads that you've seen in something already, and then you might not find it interesting to see again a second time. which to me then suggests you're thinking about the audience, right? Now, obviously you are working for a network or a director or producer inherently, but how much of what you're doing when you're doing it do you have the end audience in mind, or is that just something that is subconsciously there?
I feel like it's probably quite subconscious, because we're working to put together, I guess, a team of actors who all have great chemistry together, who create this world that you really believe and invest in. And I think at the end of the day, that's what you want the audience to be able to do. You want them to be able to believe in this world that you've created, believe in these characters, and believe in their relationships. But I think that that happens subconsciously throughout the process, and then hopefully you end up with that at the end of the process, and everything goes together and connects, and it all works.
It's more feeling then, as opposed to just like an implicit
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, and for like, especially for lead roles, you can go through quite intense and vigorous chemistry processes with different actors. Say you've cast the lead, but there's 4 or 5 other co-leads, and you have to find that person that has the best chemistry with them. You can go through quite long, vigorous casting sessions, just figuring out who works best together, especially if it's an ensemble cast as well. You might have like 4 or 5 different roles, and then maybe like 3 or 4 different actors per role, finding out who fits in best where.
That's math that no one wants to be doing. Like my abacus doesn't go up to that many permutations, so I empathize. But it's good to hear that side of things, because people don't think of that maybe from the acting perspective. So to then go, what's a numbers thing? And you're looking at all these combinations, and how do you know which is better? And maybe it's not about being better. It's just a certain vibe that comes from a certain mix, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to maybe some of the questions that people have sent in, and then we can sort of go from there, because I'm mindful people are going to start dropping into the waiting room soon. So when this one comes up so much, and I've asked it to other people, so let's get your view on it. Andrew's asked, do you prefer people to come in as they are, so as them as a human, or as the character that you're casting for? And I think I'm adding this little extra bit on to the end that may feed into more of like accents, as opposed to, should I come in as a terrorist if the character's a terrorist? I don't think it's that. I hope.
Gosh, I think it varies. I had a girl who was Australian ask me this the other day, and I think it depends on the piece. I think modern pieces, or like modern productions, you can come in as yourself naturally, and then it's an easier transition into, okay, now I'm going to do the scene. And obviously what the director and the producers are going to see, if they're not in the room, they're just going to see, sometimes we record a little chat before, but generally they're just going to see the scene. So they're just going to see you doing the accent and the character. So for that respect, it kind of doesn't really matter. I think sometimes if it's a more period piece, you're already taking a leap with the period to invest in this person playing a different period, or a different, say the 1800s or whatever. So if you have a really strong accent, don't necessarily have to come in RP, but maybe soften your accent a bit, so that when you then change into character, it's not suddenly this massive leap from, oh, there's this, I just use Australian as an example, but a strong Australian accent, and then suddenly they're doing this RP accent in a completely different time zone. It's just more of a leap for your brain. So it could, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I would find it easier for my mind to adjust to something like that if there was less of a change.
Is that with people that you may be meeting for the first time and haven't come across yet, or would that be with someone that you know already? Say you have said Australian that you've brought in a bunch of times and you know they're Australian. Do you know what I mean?
If I know them, I think I'd be like, I know what I'm expecting and I know who I'm going to see. And again, I'm not speaking for everyone. It's a really tough question. Personally, for me, it doesn't bother me if someone comes in as themselves and then changes. But I just mean for like, because I haven't actually really cast that many period pieces. But I was thinking about it the other day, and I just thought some people, it might be easier to see that person as that character if there was less of a change.
There's no magic bullet with any of this. I guess that's the thing.
No.
It's gonna vary from person to person.
Yeah. And I like someone to come in, if we're not talking about accent, I do like someone to come in as themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to meet them and talk to them a bit about themselves and then do the scene.
Well, it's a bit weird, right? Like if they're coming in for, say, the part of a serial killer and they come in as that character and vibe already, or, it's just going to be a little bit like, is that you? Is that the character? Why are you doing that? Have you been doing that are you doing it on the tube all the way in?
Yeah.
And then you don't get to meet the person, so you don't actually know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
In the long run, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I have a follow-on from that sort of. So Ronald has said, this is going to be interesting. He said, what would you class as cardinal sins an actor can commit in an audition?
Oh my gosh.
How creative do you want to be? I suppose it's more like maybe what are some of the things that you've actually seen happen that you would say are more of a no-no, beyond obvious things like, don't show up drunk.
Yeah, like don't show up drunk. I think unless you have like a genuinely, because some people ask, do you have any questions? I wouldn't ask a question for the sake of asking a question, because it's really annoying. If you've got a genuine question that's a good question, definitely ask it, because that's important. It might inform a decision you've made. It might inform the character that you created. But that's not us wanting you to have a question. It doesn't make you seem better or worse. It's just us giving you the chance to ask something that you may have been like thinking about and not actually know the answer to. Mm-hmm. So I think don't ask silly questions for the sake of asking a question, because you think, oh, they'll remember me if I ask a question.
Yeah, that's a good point though, because people get different advice on that about whether they should or shouldn't. And I guess some of it can shoot you in the foot. Like if you ask a question where the answer is either A, in the script, or the breakdown that you received, it then makes it seem like you've not done the prep before you even get into it. What about, so here's, and this maybe varies with the states to hear a little bit. I don't know. Let's get your thoughts. You've set up the room, and you might have set it up to be for the person to stand or maybe to sit or whatever's your setup. If the actor comes in and says, can I do this seated, but you've got it set up for them to stand, how would that sit with you? Because
I wouldn't mind at all. Okay. One thing I would say is ask before or tell them, because this is something, it's not necessarily a sin, but sometimes actors will do a scene and we're not expecting them to move around, and then they'll move around and we might not be ready to follow them with the camera. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to like either start standing and then sit down, or start sitting and then stand up, or move around a lot, just let us know before. And we may well ask you to do it slightly differently just to help us. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we'll just be like, okay, great, no worries. And then we'll just make sure that we're ready to follow you with the camera.
Yeah.
Because otherwise a whole take can be unusable because you've walked off screen and we haven't been able to follow you quick enough.
Yeah. So it's a good point, isn't it? It's can I move? What kind of leeway have I got if I do move? And maybe I guess you come back and say no, you can't.
Yeah. I mean, some people might, but I'd always be like, I like actors to show me what they've prepared first, and then we'll redirect it in a certain way if I know they've gone. If I know we want it slightly different, or we want to bring a different flavor, or sometimes they will have done something absolutely perfectly and I might just ask them to do it completely differently just to see how they can take direction. Doesn't mean they've done it wrong. It just means I want to see what they can do and how they can change.
That's an interesting mindset one, because I've found that can maybe trick you. It feels like you're tricking yourself out when you do an audition and a casting person says to you, I actually liked what you did the first time. I don't really have any specific notes on that, but let's just do another one just to try something different. And you do it, but then in your head, you're like, no notes? What? Like, shouldn't I have a note? And there's that almost that thing of, wait, I did something good, but is that you know what I mean? Like, it's a mindset thing. If you have to do it enough to like get out of your own head afterwards and not be
Yeah.
yourself and going, did she really mean it, or was she just saying that to be nice? And it's this whole thing of what you said, I think, was the most poignant. Like, stop caring about what other people think.
Just go with it. Just go with it and have fun, I think, which is so
Simple.
much easier said than done.
Yeah, but everything, that's life, right? Simple but really complicated.
Yeah. But no, I definitely don't mind. Like, just say what you want to do. Some people might say, no, actually, can you just do it this way, and then maybe we can play around after. Or some people will just be like, yeah, great, no worries, that's fine.
And that's the same with like eye lines, right? So say it's a scene with multiple characters in, and they want to ask you like, okay, well, where do you want me to look for this? Like with the scene, how do we create this world in our four wall audition room? Okay, I have two more quick questions, and then let's bring in some of the actors because I see the waiting room is flashing. So, Malin Frank has asked, what would you recommend doing when there's a show that you feel you're perfect for, but the casting director doesn't run any workshops and your agent doesn't have a connection with them yet? So this is more of a how do I get on your radar kind of thing, I think.
You can always write into the casting director to their like office email address, or speak to your agent and ask for them to make that contact, because even if they don't know the casting director really, really well, they probably know them in some way, whether it's been they've had people audition before, or you know they've met them at an event briefly. So I think either of those things, and discuss it with your agent, because they might have a game plan, or they might be like, yeah, that your idea of emailing them is a really good idea, just so that you're not doubling up, because sometimes that can not always, you might get an email from an agent and then an actor or two and be like, oh yeah, that's great, yes, I should get them in or get them to do a self-tape. But it's definitely a discussion to have with your agent, I think, about the game plan, especially if it's something you really, really think you'd be right for, of whether it should be you or them or both of you that emails.
Yeah, it's collaborating with your agent, not feeling like it's two separate heads doing two separate things. And
because you are, I mean, you're working together with your agent. I think actors and agents should be working together, and for the majority of the time they actually do, to push your career forward and get you on the radar of casting directors and producers.
I think it's that thing of when you're starting out, right? And you maybe, you know, I said this to Faye the other day, you kind of go through a few agents, much like when you're dating, you go through a few different relationships until you find the one that vibes with you. And sometimes that takes longer for some than others. So there's going to be times where you have maybe a decent relationship with an agent, but maybe early on in your career, it's maybe not quite what you're hoping or expecting. And I get the question from that prism. And then I guess it's that actor impatience of, but I want it yesterday. And like, how do we do the busy work, or do we just get the agent to sort of, you know, pick up the phone and have the conversation, I guess is probably the key to that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. There is one question here, but I think we've answered it. But Jess Balmer has asked, what drew you to casting initially? I think we kind of touched on that, unless there's anything that we've missed out on that point.
I don't think so. I love actors and I love meeting actors and I love reading scripts. I love the creativity. I love being involved. I think as well with casting, you're really involved from a very early stage. Sometimes, quite a lot of the time before it's even financed, or even when it's still a concept and it's as in like maybe a TV series isn't fully written yet. There's only a couple of episodes and a concept. So you're kind of there from beginning to end. So you get to see the whole process and be involved in the whole process, and make creative decisions and find people. I love going to the theatre. I love watching stuff. I love meeting actors. I love running workshops. So just the whole world of it, I think I just find fascinating.
Awesome. Cool. All right, let's bring in some people so that you don't have to listen to me the whole time, and I can rest my voice. So hopefully this will work. And Aslene's gonna join us. Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Sari. We met last week on the audition. Nice to see you again.
This is the Australian I was talking about earlier.
Oh, amazing! We've been talking. We've been talking
on the
about
show
you.
already. Hi, Ash. Thanks for doing this. I've been keeping up with all the shows. They're really good.
Good. Thank you so much. Right. Well, I'm going to let you catch up, seeing as how you guys know each other. You can have a good old chit chat.
Awesome. Yeah. Sari, my question for you pertains to spotlights. I was just wondering, when you go and check out an actor's spotlight, do you prefer to see a really long list of all the things they've done, so it looks like, you know, they've had a lot of experience and a lot of good work? Or do you just prefer to see recent credits and really good credits? Because I've heard conflicting arguments for both. Some people say don't put in things like music videos or corporate videos because they're not really forecasting. And then other people say, you know, just have it all on there so it looks like you know, showing all of your breadth and experience of work.
So I think I mean, I don't mind seeing it all on there. I like it when you have the tabs. So say the music videos and the corporate videos can be like the end tabs, and then people don't have to look at that if they don't want. But say you're being put up for a music video or a corporate, that, you know, a lot of actors do that stuff just in between jobs. People can, if someone's casting that, they can be like, oh, they've done one before. They know what they're doing on that kind of set. They know the kind of way that works. And then for the most part, if I'm casting for TV or film, I'll just look at the tabs for TV and film, and if there's nothing particularly recent in there, I'll look at stage, and then I'll probably see, oh yeah, they've just been doing stage for the last 2 years. That's why they've not got much TV and film, but they have been working. So I think it's fine to have it all on there, personally, but I like it to be in tabs.
Sure. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I guess it's organized and you can kind of just go to it that way and not have to worry about trying to trail through a big line of CV.
Yes, yeah, because it always puts the most recent stuff at the top as well. So, and that's kind of what I'm most interested in, unless there's like a really amazing show that you did or film that you did 5 or 6 years ago, and then I'm like, oh great, they did that too.
Sure. I suppose going off that then, would you prefer it if we had our credits in year order or best first?
I think in year order.
Sure. Okay. Awesome.
First. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. That answered my question. Thanks so much, Sari.
No worries.
Thank you. Bye, Ash.
Awesome. Bye. Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys. Bye. Cheers.
Bye.
What about the like the description line in Spotlight? Do you recommend people take advantage of that to put in a little bit of extra blurb, say if they've been in a film that's hit a festival or being opposite someone who's named? Like, do you look at that at all if it's on there?
Yeah, for sure. But I mainly put like recent stuff in that part. Like so and so is currently filming this opposite this person, or can be seen at this film festival, is in this film that's at these different festivals right now. I'd say keep that part recent, but it is useful to see that, especially if it's something that hasn't come out yet or isn't necessarily on the CV yet because it's still being filmed or they've only just been cast in it. Yeah, I think that's useful to use.
And before I bring in the next person, I got to ask this. Have I been butchering your name? Is it Carrie or Sari?
No, it's Carrie.
I was like, she said Sari, and I'm like, do I have to restart the show? Because that's going to... Okay, good. Okay, right. Let's bring in the next person. So this is hopefully Suri any minute now.
Hi.
Hello. Connecting to audio.
Oh.
Technology working seamlessly when you want it to.
Nice. Yay. Hello.
Hi.
Hello,
Ash. Right.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir.
Fantastic. All right, my guy. Well, listen, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you just talk to Carrie and ask your question.
Okay. Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Hello.
Right. Basically, this is my first time ever on a show, like an interview. Thank you very much for Ash. I was just wondering, I get to like auditions, and then I'll get as far as like the first stage, and then comes the callback. I wanted to find out that how can you help us to deal with the second audition? Because it's always a little bit iffy. It always swings the other way for me somehow. And I just wanted to know how to approach the performance and what are they looking for on the second performance. If they called us back, obviously they narrowed it down to about five people. Then they choose from there, and then eventually to 2. That's where I'm having not an issue, but I want you to see how better we can do it.
That's a good question. We were talking a little bit about this earlier, actually, and in callbacks especially, it can be to do with the chemistry, especially if you've been called back for a chemistry read with another actor. It can be the way your chemistry with that person, which is kind of it's a hard one to give advice on, because it is either there or it's not, really. But if you're being, called into castings and getting callbacks, the casting directors who are calling you in and calling you back obviously really like you, or they wouldn't keep bringing you in and you wouldn't be getting the callback. So you're obviously doing a good job. It can be a variety of different things. And I think in terms of a callback, just being as prepared as you can, because quite often you get given extra material to learn and to work on. Sometimes you'll get notes. Do you ever get sort of notes on anything they want you to work on or do?
No, I haven't had the notes. I think you could be right on the first note there, where they linked me up with another young lady, to work with possibly. And somehow there's like 5 groups. They're all like linking up and all watching everybody on the second round. I don't know. Could it be the chemistry? Maybe.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be that, and it's kind of it's really hard, I guess, pill to swallow, because it's kind of out of the actor's control. You're obviously good and they like you, and it can just be a case of the chemistry or the vibe. I'd say just make sure you're really, really open to redirection, especially by having like the lines down, so they're kind of in your muscle memory. So if you get redirected, you don't really need to think about it, and you don't need to worry and think, oh, but I've rehearsed it this way. What if I forget it because I've been asked to do it a different way? I think just being really open to redirection, really open to being playful, and not worrying about the lines or about the way you did it initially, because they might really like the way you did it initially but just want to play around with different ideas and different ways of doing it. So just it's much easier to say than do, but just being really relaxed, really open, really playful, that could also help in a situation.
I mean, sometimes, when there's a block comes in, I just carry on, keep on going, I do, and they never notice that. No, you won't notice. You probably miss here and there a little bit of a note on the line. I just carry on as normal, and then I let myself go in and it's quite, when I let myself go, I'm quite fine with it.
That's perfect. That's the perfect way to be as well. Don't let missing a line knock you off character or take you out of the scene, because most people won't notice and they won't mind. They'll be like, oh great, he just carried on. He's obviously good at dealing with that stuff, and he wants to keep the scene going. So that's a very good thing to be able to do.
Yeah, that's what I've started doing. I'm obviously not getting much auditions at the moment. It's probably because of this lockdown.
We all are. You're not getting them? We're all auditioning now. What are you talking about? There's no industry.
Of course. Actually, it's this lockdown's helped me a lot, really, because I'm doing a lot of research at the moment and trying to apply for agents now as well. Probably try a different agent. My other question linking onto that is that I know I would take. I've had about 6 projects since I started, and the last project I had the lead role in it, which was a 15-minute show, 15-minute short film. It's on YouTube now at the moment. It's quite good, and it even got to a festival. which under lockdown we couldn't go attend because of that. It might even won something, I'm not sure, but there you go. But my other question is like, how do you, if you don't get the role, how do you go around keeping us in mind and say, oh, we saw that guy and could we give him that? You know what I mean? Out of context a bit.
I keep lists of everyone that I meet, especially in like general meetings or workshops. I keep lists with notes on them so that I can remember, so that if I'm casting something and I'm like, oh, what was the name of that person in that workshop I was doing the other day, or that person I met in that one-to-one, I can then go back to my lists and go, oh, that's who they are, look them up on Spotlight, or find out who their agent is, or if they're a direct, if I've got a direct contact for them if they don't have an agent, and get in touch with them that way. But yeah, I definitely, with people that I've met in workshops and one-to-ones, or seen even in shows, I keep lists.
I see. Okay.
It's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah. Yeah, my actor's encyclopedia.
Exactly.
Well, I'm actually, among my personalities, I'm very laid back a little bit, and then I really stay quiet and stuff like this. Now, because I'm watching all of these shows as well, they said you've got to make contact like yourself, contact with you, the casting directors and stuff like this. That's what I've started doing now, just to get a role in. I mean, my other last question is really, what about the age gaps? Because I'm an older person, a little bit in the between 40 and 55, I can play. That's my range. And all the stuff I see at the moment for breakdowns and all that, they're all are for younger people or middle-aged, a little bit below. Where do we stand, in that kind of category, in that kind of range? How?
I would say there's still lots of roles out there for 40 to 55 and older. It just might be, some stuff is just sent to agents on Spotlight, so you wouldn't see it yourself on the main board. A lot of stuff is sent just to the agents, not to all the actors as well. So it could be that you're not seeing it, but it is definitely there. There's still I think there's a broad range of roles across all age ranges at the moment.
Okay.
Sounds like the agent's the way to go, I think, on that one, Suri. I think we were talking about this before. It's getting an agent you have a good relationship with, and then trusting that you can collaborate with them and say, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm interested in, and they can then obviously, with the connections they have that you might not, try and fight for your corner and know about those projects that you won't see. Not that I want to give you more homework to do in lockdown, but
no, I'm actually loving it because it's actually, I mean, I'm a workaholic a little bit, and then really I've come off all my work and started doing not my passion, but it's something which I love doing this. I mean, I even do little role plays myself here, working on accents now. I'm also doing some tuitions with American over abroad on the internet, just to keep my foot in the door. I'm just thinking when it's going to come. That's all. I mean, my next.
I think we all are. I think we all are right now. I think we're all just kind of sitting pretty, holding tight inside four walls and wondering what's going to happen and when. But, in some ways we're all in the same boat, and we can take advantage of people like Kerry giving us their time to just chat with us and give their insights. And, in some ways that's a bit of a novel thing. So it's a silver lining to what's happening. And, let's all take advantage of it. Hopefully you've got some good insights from Kerry just now. I think she dropped some good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's I think the chemistry bit helps a lot, working with the other actors and stuff like this, and it's probably something of that sort. But thank you very much for doing all of that for me.
No worries. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, and you, Kerry.
Bye.
Take care. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye. It is. It's the agent thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's I don't know. Sometimes there are lots of stuff or lots of castings out there that get put out there on different websites, especially if it's a wider search or it's like a tougher kind of group of people. There's maybe not so many of them on Spotlight, or you're looking for someone who speaks a specific language, so you have to open it up a lot wider. I've seen lots of people putting stuff out on Twitter as well recently.
Yeah.
But those also, the open calls tend to be for younger people, because that's where they tend to want emerging talent. They might have already cast someone who's a bit older, who's established, and then they want to bring someone new through as introducing them to the world as the next big actor who no one's seen do anything before. That's why I think maybe the open calls do tend to be for younger people.
Is that more challenging in some ways in your experience, finding younger people to cast? Not because they're not known, but because there's obviously other things to consider around, T's and C's and policies and young kids in school. Like, does that give more headaches in some ways?
Yeah, it does. There are certain restrictions, like you have to get, if they're, I think it's under 16 or under, or if they're still at school, you have to get a child license, and then you also have to have a chaperone.
Yeah.
So I think I know I've experienced a lot of times you'll have people who are maybe 17, 18, 19 playing a 15 or 16-year-old, just because then you don't have to do all of that paperwork, and you also don't have to, sometimes you have to wait to film till the summer holidays, or it's just easier to film in the summer holidays or the Easter holidays or whatever, just because it's easier to get the licensing. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it can be easier because then the kid's not missing school, and you don't need to then also get a sort of tutor as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure it is easier when they're out of school because there's just less things to worry about.
Yeah. But it is really exciting to find a really talented young kid. It's like, it's just brilliant.
It's like the young boys in Jojo Rabbit. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
Oh my gosh, isn't he amazing?
Both of them are incredible. Like both of them, I don't think had much, if any, experience, and they just knocked it out of the park. And now, like, even when you watch them on the red carpet, they're the same. It's just like watching them in the movie. It's so innocent and naive, but yet they kind of know as well. It's
it's a real thrill. I when, what was it, we cast The Last Tree with Aisha Bywaters, and we found a brilliant young actor. I'm trying to remember his name now. It's gone. But he honestly, he was just phenomenal. Like, really just brilliant. And
was it just that he was more open to playing?
I think so, yeah. He was brilliant at improvising. And that was one of the director did a lot of that in the audition room. And he also was great with the script, and his eyes were just brilliant. Ty Golding, brilliant, really, really good.
Awesome, cool. They do say don't work with kids and animals, but that's probably because us adults just get upstaged by them and our egos get all pissed off. Right, let me bring in the next person. Hopefully this is going to get Yorgo in the chat. Hello.
How
are we doing?
Done. Boom. Connected.
Hello.
Hello. I'm getting used to this technology.
I'm glad somebody is. Man.
Yeah. How are you guys?
All good. Having a good old chat here with Carrie and getting some really good insights for people. So, I'm going to leave it to you to ask away your questions and have a bit of a chat and see how she can help you out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. My questions. I did a bit of lists. So I have 2 questions for you. It's 2 questions in one. What stand out for you as an actor for self-tapes and then in the audition room? Because I think it's a bit different. Because in the audition room, you are with us, so you can work. But with self-tape, we just have like a brief, and we're like, okay, I'm going to do like this, and maybe it's not the right thing, but it's still a good performance. So I want to know what's your insight, because every casting director has different tastes. So yeah, I just want to know yours.
I think having a connection to the character is really important. And I think that's the main thing. I think if you are really connecting with the character and the scene, and you're really inhabiting that character, the choices you've made, whether we would perhaps direct you to do it differently in some aspect or build it differently, if you're fully connecting with that character, it kind of doesn't matter so much, and we can see, oh yeah, well, we could get them in and work from them that way. But once you've really connected with the character and you're giving us that performance and you're really inhabiting that role, that's kind of the magic moment. And it's kind of an undescribable thing. There was another film that I did with Aisha Bywaters, and we'd seen, probably, it was honestly almost 100 self-tapes. And one of the last ones we got in, there was a short list of actors we were meeting, and they were all very good, but then none of them fully hit exactly what we were looking for. And then the final self-tape that we had in was just, I remember watching it and being like, oh my gosh, that is that person. She's completely, like, we were all just blown away, and just from that self-tape. And that doesn't happen often, but from that self-tape I was like, wow, like she's got it. That's amazing.
And what she
really connected. She really connected with the role and just inhabited it. And that was that magic moment. It's kind of, and I don't know what she did to do it, other than just really connecting and inhabiting the role. And I think that's all you can do really in a self-tape. The other thing is to perhaps, if you've got two different ideas of different ways it could be played, send both of them in, because that's also fine to do. You could send two takes, and then we can see, he's done slightly differently.
So I always send two tapes to my agent, and then I say to him, you can decide, you can send both of them, or for you, what's the best one, and then it's up to him, because this is a job of an agent who knows, like, this one's going to be better for the role. So
that's great. That's great that you do that. Yeah, so that's good.
Cool. My second question is about you, because I know you do a lot of comedy with Rachel now, but you are freelance casting director. So do you want to be your own casting director in the future when everything is back to a normal? What's your dream show? What's your dream job in the future?
Gosh, that's so difficult. I really love variety. I think it's really fun to work on miniseries, because they're like their own extended film almost. You're getting more than you would get in a film in terms of there's a longer time to develop a character, but also it's a miniseries. So once it's ended, and it does have a start and a finish. And I really love a mixture of comedy and drama. I wouldn't want to choose one or the other, I don't think, because I think it's really, that's something I love. It's one thing I loved when I was about acting, is that every job's different and you're always doing different stuff, and you get the opportunity to explore lots of different things. But I love that about casting as well, because again, you're always getting the chance to explore different things. So yeah, I'd love to also probably do a long running series that has several seasons. And also I really love indie film, because you get the opportunity to meet lots of new, like more so new actors, and introduce new actors into the industry.
Yeah, that's true. No, I totally agree, because so I use this time to find my niche, but I think I knew it already. But this time it's like, okay, let's sit down. It's like, I'm a comedy actor. I get it. And a lot of people tell me, like, oh, you are very funny. I think you should do more comedy. But I like, as you say, to do drama, because that's the perfect side of acting. It's like every day is different. and every day I can be a different character if I want. But I think I'm focusing right now more on comedy, so I can build my credits, and then I can choose like, but you know what, I want to do this drama role, and then I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's very interesting time to work on, skills, to find a niche, and just connect with you guys, like casting director, just because we know that there is not the right time to say, oh, I want a role right now. Now, I think I just want to connect and know each other, because we are all different, and yeah, it's too cool. So thank you so much.
No worries.
Awesome.
Pleasure to meet
And
you.
Ash,
Oh,
I have the
you
chocolate.
have the chocolates. Oh,
Yeah,
you're-
and I
you're-
don't feel guilty to eat chocolate.
do it. You have to have one whilst you're on camera now. That's the deal. Carrie, we had a thing. Yorgo tweeted me when I announced people to come to meet Faye, and he said, "Oh, I'll be on the show eventually." And then he said he was going to watch the show eating chocolate. So now when he got picked, I said, well, you can come on the show and eat a chocolate live, and then we can have a full circle thing. So we've done
Amazing.
And
Yay.
got it. It's
Perfect.
good for mental health, guys. Don't feel guilty about eating everything you want and drinking wine. Just to let you know, for actors.
I agree.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll call you in 10 years when I have diabetes and I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
And let you know
Maybe
how
we're
that's
gonna
worked
be in
out.
the same center.
Maybe. I'll see you there. All right. Thank you for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Take
Have
care.
a good day, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that's funny. I didn't think he'd actually have the chocolates. I love it. Right. Let me see who we can bring in next. I've got a couple more people, Carrie, and then I'll let you get back to civilian life. Right. This says Holly, but I'm really hoping it's Dom because I don't have a Holly set up to come on the show. Unless he has a secret for us that I'm not aware of. It is Dom. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Whilst you're connecting to audio, I was saying, I really hope that, how you doing? You are Dom, not Holly, even though it says Holly.
Yeah, Holly's my girlfriend, actually. She was setting...
I assumed. We were like, maybe Dom has a secret. So, Carrie, quick one. I'm gonna call this out now. So it's Dom's birthday today.
Oh, happy
So
birthday.
happy birthday, sir.
Thank you.
How has your
Thank
day been so far as a birthday in lockdown? What's that like?
Really good, actually, yeah. Yeah,
Good.
I
You have a
had
banner.
a treasure hunt to go through, yeah. Sorry, what was your question? Sorry.
Oh, no,
We
I
have
just
the
I can
banner.
see your banner behind you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually quite happy, yeah.
Good,
I'm
man.
really happy, yeah.
Awesome. Well, listen, your time with Carrie, really. So I'm going to pipe down and ask away whatever you want to ask.
Perfect, thank you.
Go for it.
Cool. So my question for you was, as an actor who doesn't have an agent, what's your suggestion to move his career forward? And then I have another question which is related to that.
So I think it's a tough one in lockdown, isn't it? I don't know if you've seen lots of the one-to-ones that are happening on We Audition and Spotlight one-to-ones. And there's lots of monologue competitions as well at the moment, actually, like online things like that. And I think getting involved with as much of that as you can is fab, because it's just getting you out there. It's getting people to see your name. I've judged on the Just Have Milk monologue competition that they did, and that was brilliant, and it was so much fun to be a part of, and I got to see lots of actors that I'd actually never seen before, and I got to see their work and what they do, which was really absolutely brilliant. So I think doing lots of things like that's really useful. Perhaps, I mean, I know lots of people some people like it, some don't. But if you look at what shows you really like and the kind of things that you would like to be in, and look at who's casting them, and maybe write to those specific casting directors. Again, so they might not reply, but they will see your email, I know with all the emails I get, I may not reply to all of them, but I do read them and I put them into a folder for when I am working on something, and then I go back and will, I'll be like, oh, I saw that person, let's find them, and that sort of thing. So that's another good way to be proactive. Lots of people, there's the monologue. It's like a monologue challenge. I can't remember who does it, but basically you get, it's like I think it's a 30-day or self-tape challenge. Sorry.
Oh, Manuel Piro? You mean Manuel Piro's 21? Yeah. If you've not done that, that's really worth it. I've done that, and the good thing with that is once you've done his 21 days, he opens it up to. He has like 5-day casting director ones that you can do once you've done the 21-day one. So you can actually do 5 days with different casting people, and he's still doing them now. It's what's it called? Yeah, I think it is the acting habit. That's the name of the website. If you want to check that out.
Isn't that quite good, Ash? Because you get given the sides or the scene, and then you get to see everyone else's interpretation as well.
100%.
So you do yours, and then you see how other people have done theirs.
And the great thing is they give you feedback.
So you get given the sides on the spots, right?
No. So what happens is with Manuel, it's 21 days, and say today he was starting. At 7 p.m., he sends you through a series of sides, or the sides. You have time to learn it, and then you have until the next day at 7 p.m. to have learned it, filmed it, uploaded it to the site. And then the next day, 7 p.m. hits, new set of sides, rinse and repeat the cycle for 21 days. So by the time you get to the end, you've been doing this every day for 3 weeks. You've built this muscle. You've built this habit. To Kerry's point, you get to see everybody else and their interpretation of the same sides, and you can comment. It's a good community, and Manuel watches it all and gives feedback to everybody individually. So you actually get a casting person to watch your stuff and watch you do 21 different characters, not just one thing.
Yeah, that's really good, actually.
That's a good one.
And my second question, which is kind of related to the first one, if I have time to ask it.
Do it.
Yep. So I have an agent. I was born in Italy, and I have an agent in Italy. But from my experience, I think it's not enough to have an agent. It has to be the right agent. And I don't think you actually understand that until you start to work with them. Because you might meet them maybe like even twice, and then, I don't know, maybe your way of working, it's just like what you think of yourself is not what he thinks of you. And for like, how do you, I know it's hard to answer it, but how do you guys, how do you kind of see that person is actually a good person that you could be working with? If that makes sense.
I think you need to feel comfortable to call them up and chat to them about your career, about what you want as an actor, because you guys are working together, and you want your agent to understand your ambitions and the kind of roles that you want to do, but also listen to them because they've got industry expertise in the kind of, when you first start out, you might be put into certain boxes by certain people in terms of role types, etc. So I think it's important to listen to their advice, as well as them listening to you about what you want to do and where you see yourself going. And I think it's really important for you both to be on the same page. So I think it's just important to feel comfortable to be able to talk to them. I think that's the main thing with your agent, and feel comfortable that you trust that your career is in safe hands, and that they're taking it in a direction that you want it to go.
It takes time. We were talking about this before, and I dropped the whole, it's like dating as an analogy, and you go through like a few relationships till you find a good one. That was really weird.
That was so great.
I was like, is that me in my head? Because that's not a good sign. What I might recommend, have you heard of Bonnie Gillespie? Have you heard of Self-Management for Actors, Dom?
I'm not too sure. No, I don't.
It's a book. Bonnie Gillespie is an American. She used to work in casting. Then she's like this basically business of acting coach, and I've worked with her for 6-7 years. Don't get anything from it. No cuts, no affiliates, no promos. Just I can vouch for like the book. It's about £10, £12, and she goes through knowing, your type, how you might fit in the industry when you're starting out, how to then use that to approach the right agent, but like all based on research and actually going deep, kind of what Carrie was saying about, she talks as well about looking at shows you might fit in and then seeing who casts them. She then also says, maybe you can look at, of the people getting cast on those shows, who are they with as an agent? And then you start to see, well, maybe certain agents have certain relationships with certain casting people. And you can find that out through things like IMDb Pro and just doing a bit of digging. So, again, I said this to the last person. I don't want to give homework in lockdown, but she's worth checking out. She puts out loads of free resources. So you can just check out some free stuff first, see what you think. And then the book, I think, is £10 or something if you were interested. So another thing to maybe look at.
Cool. Sounds
Awesome.
really good.
Awesome. All right, dude. Well, thank you for coming on. I hope you have a great birthday or rest of your birthday.
Well, yes, thank you for doing that in the first place. And yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Nice
You too.
to meet you.
See you later, Dom.
Bye.
Bye. Oh man, see, I love it. Like the things that are happening in lockdown that you just like take for granted in normal life, and then like, the smallest thing of your birthday becomes even bigger when you're stuck in four walls and
It's mad, isn't it?
It is mad. Although I'd be like, on my birthday, I ain't talking to anybody. I'm like, I wouldn't want to talk to me on my own birthday. What?
Well, I've got some friends of mine have birthdays at the weekend, and they were saying they don't really want to spend the whole day on Zoom talking to people. They're like, I just want to have like maybe a party with everybody dancing all at once. I don't want to have to spend my whole day, because it can be exhausting, can't it, having loads of different conversations with loads of different people, one after the other. When it's a day, you just want to kind of sit back and
I don't do one after the other. I just do one of these and get like an hour and a bit in, and then after that I'm like, I'm spent. So for you,
yeah.
who you're doing like sort of hours after hours, it's I think respect and thanks to all you guys, because you're putting in not just your time but your energy. And I know we can all say we have free time now, but you've got your own life as well, and I'm sure you want to just chill or spend video time with friends and not just us actors all the time. So
but it is a pleasure. It's nice.
But I do agree with you. There is Zoom fatigue. I think I saw an article on LinkedIn where they were literally talking about this video fatigue setting in. And yes, I get it. I get it. Like final one. Let's bring in Chrissy, who's been waiting patiently.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Chrissy. I think your microphone's muted, I believe. There you go.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good. Although the sun's disappeared today and it's all gray and dreary and back to English normal weather.
Yeah.
Not that we can go out and do anything in it, but yeah.
We can go to the grocery store. Come on.
and queue for an hour. Sounds great.
Got a nice little sunburn that way.
Exactly. Right. I'm gonna leave you and Carrie to have a good old chat and ask whatever questions you have for her.
Okay, thank you.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good.
How have you been?
Yeah. Surviving.
I get that. Okay, so my question, I guess, I was writing it for everyone because I wasn't sure. I didn't know what kind of show this was. I thought this was like an actual show, not like a one-on-one.
What are you talking about? Well, it's both. It's both. I record it.
Oh,
and then
it is.
I record it and then I put it out later as a full thing. But I'm giving people the chance to come on and have like some one-to-one time too. So it's a big old mix. It's not a live stream. It's not a live stream though, so you can say whatever you want, and I'll bleep and censor you out later.
Fair enough. Okay, So I guess this question actually is going out for everybody, since every casting director is different. What do you prefer, either in a self-tape or a casting? More for probably self-tape and less for the actual casting, because by that time I think you'd be able to speak with them one-on-one a little bit more. But for a self-tape, what do you prefer? And given obviously, the proper landscape, I'm not talking about like the technical aspects. What as a casting director do you like? And can you go off script if that gives more natural performance as well?
I would say don't go off script too much. If it's like a word here and there that's kind of a throwaway word, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that's more that for you feels more natural. I think that's usually okay, but I wouldn't like change everything completely just to fit, how you want to say it. But if it's the odd word here and there, I don't think it's if it helps you and it makes you feel more in character, I personally don't mind that. I think connecting with the character and really being in character is really important, and also making strong choices, not for the sake of making them, but looking at the script and making strong, bold choices based on what you have, or what you've seen in the synopsis, or what you know about the character. I think that's really important. And then I also think I quite like sometimes seeing, I don't want to see two takes that are really similar, but if you've got different ideas and you're not sure about which one to send, I think it's definitely okay to send both to different takes on the scene or on the role. I wouldn't send two almost the same, because there's not enough time to watch like scenes if someone's made a tiny difference in a different one. But if they are different, genuinely different, it's nice to see, because one of them might be brilliant but not quite right, and then the other one might just also be brilliant but much more on what we were hoping to see for the role.
That makes more sense. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. I wish I had more, but at the same time, like, I know that like I said, I wasn't expecting it, so thank you.
No, it's great. It's a great question.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chrissy. Appreciate you
so
coming
much.
on.
Anytime. Thank you guys for having me. Take care of yourselves, both of you, please.
You too.
I really appreciate you. Bye.
Bye. I keep hearing police on someone's. That must be on your side.
Yeah, it is. I live on a main road. Okay,
it's like someone's broken lockdown. It's so interesting. Like, one of my friends lives in the city center here, and he was like, he still sees people because he's next to a bridge, just like driving across. Like, people just think that it's Fast and the Furious now for them. They've got a free racetrack to just go out and zoom around. And
yeah. There's still quite a lot of people out and about in London. They're just better at keeping their distance. There's definitely more awareness, people staying 2 meters away from each other.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Like, whenever it comes back to, being in audition rooms and being actually on sets, like how this will be traversed, and, will we have less people coming into a room? Will we space out sessions? Will you do more on self-tapes to kind of pre-qualify? I mean, who knows, but it's
something we're all going to have to navigate.
For sure. Awesome. Well, listen, this has been really great. I think we've got, a lot of really interesting stuff that's come out of it, and I think helped a few people out with their questions. So what I like to do at the end is just do a quick fire 10 questions that I swiped straight from James Lipton and Inside the Actors Studio. So I'm just going to ask you those 10 questions that he would ask his guests, and then we'll wrap it up.
Cool.
So the first question is, what is your favorite word?
Do I just do I have to answer quickly? Is it like that?
Well, not quickly, but also, like, let's not take 30 minutes to
let me just look at my encyclopedia.
Exactly.
Peaceful.
Okay. What's your least favorite word?
Hate.
What turns you on in a creative, spiritual, emotional kind of way?
Probably yoga.
Mm. And what turns you off?
Arguing.
Which is going to happen anyway in life.
Yeah.
Number 5 is optional because some people may or may not want to go with it. It's what's your favorite swear word? And if we want to bypass it, we can bypass it.
Probably fuck.
It's everybody's.
Literally probably what I say the most.
It's everybody's. Everybody comes up with like a slightly like pause moment and goes, oh, I want to say something cool. No, it's just fuck.
Yeah.
It's just fuck. I think when Amy Ray Jackson was on the show and like she was pausing and then her boyfriend I think was in the room and off camera he just like shouted in from across the room. It's so interchangeable. Okay, what is your favorite sound or noise?
I love the waves.
Ah, okay. You got to move out of London. You got to move to Brighton or something. What's your least favorite sound or noise?
Sirens. You just heard them there. Very aggravating.
And also you don't know like what kind of siren it is. And if it's like an ambulance, then you're like, oh, that's not a good sign.
It just means something bad's happened, doesn't it? It's horrid.
Yeah. Especially at 3 a.m. as well. Not to be selfish about it, but what job or profession other than your own or the ones you've already done would you most like to attempt?
Musician.
What kind?
I've kind of done that a little bit, but
okay.
A singer.
Singer.
Yeah.
Do you play any instruments?
I play the guitar and piano and ukulele a bit. Not like
just those 3. Just the 3.
Yeah. Just a bit.
Like, yeah, I don't play much. I'm basically just Fleetwood Mac. Oh, okay. Great. What job or profession would you definitely never want to do?
Oh, a job that I wouldn't want to do. That's a really tough one. What would I not want to do? I don't think I would like to be a firefighter.
Because of the fires and the sirens. It's like the worst
Yeah.
of 2 worlds, right? Yeah. There's something about like, they must be able to just switch off their brain or something that just switches off that fear. Or maybe they do have the fear and just go into the buildings anyway.
I just think they're so brave. I don't think I'm that brave.
It's great. Well, anyone in those professions in different ways, right? I even think like surgeons, for example, like it's a different kind of bravery, but oof.
Yeah. A lot of responsibility.
Okay, final question is, when it's all said and done, what would you like the story of your life to be?
That's a long story.
I know. You get 10 points for the Hallmark answer. Or I guess it's more like if we re-switch it, like, you know, if you were to have an obituary written or or if you wanted to leave a certain legacy, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered, and I would like the story of my life, I guess, to be someone who made a positive impact on other people's lives, who was fulfilled and appreciated what they had, but also strived for more, in a positive way, and grew and had, and as I do, wonderful people around them and lots of people that they loved and who loved them, or who I love and who then love me.
Yeah, two-way street.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess just who had a positive impact on the world.
I guess that's a day-by-day thing, right? But I think, it's fair to say that you and a lot of other peers of yours in the industry are in a small way, day by day, giving a positive impact on a lot of actors with what you're doing. And, You know, I don't think there is that one big moment perhaps where you look and go, oh, I made this huge massive impact in one full sweep. And I think you are doing it on the daily with the We Audition one-to-ones and being kind enough to come on and do stuff like this. So, you know, thank you for that. It's been awesome chatting to you. Really enjoyed
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And look, I guess final few moments really for you. Any kind of final closing tips or stuff you want to leave people with, and also I guess where they can maybe connect with you on the socials. Anything really to shout about? Floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on the CDG website. And I think the main I guess thing for me today, especially today after chatting with you, is just be relaxed. And it's so much easier said than done, but embrace what you do, embrace castings. If you get sent a script or you get sent sides to read or come in for meetings, really embrace it and have fun with it and be playful and enjoy it. Just really, really enjoy it and don't take it for granted, because there's so many actors struggling to get in the door and make that move. And once you've got in the door and you've connected with people, especially with the one-to-ones and all of that stuff, use it and find ways to push it forward. Do the one-to-ones, do the monologue competitions, do the self-tape challenges, do all of that stuff. Just do as much as you can, but also don't feel bad if you don't want to one day, because I think at the moment there's so many people maybe pushing themselves to do things because they think everyone else is, and they think, oh, if I don't do it then I'm a failure and I'm not pushing myself and I'm not, you know. Don't feel that way, because everyone has days when they don't want to do anything. I've definitely had days where I've just done nothing because I think you need that. You need to also let yourself do nothing and don't punish yourself if you don't do exercise one day. Don't worry about it. You don't have to. If you don't do a one-to-one, or if you don't do a monologue, or if you don't do something like write to hundreds of casting directors, it's not a failure. You're allowed days off and you're allowed to relax as well.
It's being human as opposed to a machine, right?
Yeah.
Love that. Awesome. Well, Carrie, thank you. Really, it's been, as I said, again, I'll say it again now, pleasure. Really enjoyed it. And enjoy the rest of your day. I was going to say enjoy the rest of your lockdown. Maybe not the right way to say it, but I guess, you know, keep doing what you're doing and stay well and all that stuff that people seem to be saying these days. And hopefully we'll all see each other on the other side of this thing, whatever the world looks like when it comes back to life.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Take care.
Thanks so much, Ash.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.